Okay, here from Tantra Foundation, myself, JRC, and Morrison and Obijit is here, and we are now in front of Amyt Dutta, who is one of the best guitarists in India. He was once my teacher, and now we are in front of him, trying to understand the music scenario in Kolkata and the experimentation music. But before I start talking with Amyt, I want to little bit discuss on the kind of heritage from where he comes. His metal grandfather was called the Pitamaha Vishwa of Indian cinema music, raichandboral, Sri Raichandboral. So we are paying a tribute and a homage to him, and then coming back to understand his music and his journey, right from the band Shiva to where he is doing experimental music on his new albums. So Amyt, if we start with your first guitar, which you had, I mean, you're set in the now backdrop of a musical background from your maternal grandfather. So you described that it was just a log of wood, you paid 300 rupees to a friend, and you got a guitar out of it. And that's how it started. So,
well, they started before, but yeah, that was the first or second or maybe the third electric guitar I had, yes. Yeah, so the whole thing actually started, music, like you mentioned, my grandfather was a very heavy music director, and my mom's family had this classical background happening in the family. It was running in the family. It was like part of the whole being, basically. Yes. And all the big artists, all the big artists, like national artists, like whether it's classical or Thumri or Bollywood, that time they used to all come to the house and, you know, discuss music with my grandfather. Even though I haven't really interacted with my grandfather at all, in fact, maybe a couple of times. I remember one time my younger brother, Amyt Dutta, his birthday, he came and he was much older, and I still remember he looked fantastic. And he white fair, and he had this white kurta and whatever, and he looked like a prince at that age. But he had that vibe of, you know, check me out kind of vibe. He looked like a star anyway. But yeah, but I didn't like, was crazy about his music or something like that. I'm still not, I am like crazy about his music, but I do respect his, you know, his contribution to the Indian film industry or whatever, classical, even classical. So that's how I got it. Genetic, if genetics is part of reality, yes. Whatever. Yeah. And then my mom actually in 1973, my dad fell sick. He had his first heart attack, and we were all very young then. And me and my brother were hanging out, and the family was down because of my father's illness in the house. So my mom said, why don't you play some instrument? At least it'll keep you, you know, going, or will keep your spirit up or something. We were kids. I mean, I must have been 12 or something like that, and my brother was 11. And my brother already instinctively was playing guitar with the bottle, medicine bottle. He would play tunes and all that. I had no clue. I was musically zilch. I had no talent. I don't think I still have that. Anyway, but and then it started, and then we took lessons from very, you know, normal people, known people, and that's how it started. And then he went off to, my brother went off to the percussion world, and he became a musician, like a total musician. And I pursued guitar, and I started off with Hawaiian guitar, and then I picked up this because my elder brother, who's not a musician, who also took guitar lessons, so there was a guitar lying around, so I was playing all this kind of thing. And then it's the whole thing started, and then I went to other teachers, and then I would practice, and I fell in love with this instrument, and I practiced a lot. So as what happens when you practice, you become bigger. I mean, not bigger, sorry, become better, and then that inspires you to practice more. And then that cycle starts, and then I ended up practicing 10 hours, 12 hours, sometimes 14 hours a day later. You know, if you cut to 5 years later, I was practicing.
That was when you were in high school?
I was in class 8 or 9, I was practicing a lot. If I was awake, I was just playing guitar. If my eyes were open, I was just playing. In fact, I remember in a bio class or chemistry class where I used to go to the lab in the school, thinking, I'm going to go home and play that chord, you know, because I was just dreaming about this guitar and all that kind of thing. And then I got, like you mentioned, I got my electric guitar my own electric guitar from a friend who made it, and I just paid him 300 rupees, and he was good with his hands, and he made me a guitar that looked like a guitar, didn't play like a guitar. And the trunk, the neck was like a tree trunk. It was like, that's why I call it the trunk. So it's like huge. But I thought that's where it is, you know. I mean, I would practice even on that. And then when I got a decent guitar, I sounded or played much better because it just physically better. So yeah, that's how it started, and then started playing in rock and roll bands, and I was having too much fun, and I stopped thinking about my dream was to go abroad and all that kind of when I was very young, and then I was having too much fun here, and I forgot about the dream, and I was chasing this dream in Calcutta where I was playing. And then slowly, little by little, people got to know me in the block. And then the musicians who I saw in newspapers and senior musicians, they asked me to play. So I was going up step by step, and then I got very, very seriously into learning what music is and not the glam part. And especially guitar is such a good-looking instrument, makes you look better than you are, and you get hooked onto this glam part, and I want to be like a wannabe star. Yeah. But that didn't really do anything to me. I wanted to really learn the art of music as a whole. Yeah. And then I learned from people, from books, as people came from abroad, especially America, even Europe, and then I used to go to workshops and learned as much as possible, discuss from senior guys, ask questions. I was shameless. I was really, stop people on the road and ask me. If I saw him with a guitar, I would go and ask, like, do you know, how good are you? Do you know that? And most of the time I found they knew not much, they just played like instantly, you know, that time. Around my block, Calcutta 16, where a lot of Anglo-Indians used to stay, and they, you know, play a lot of like naturally talented people. But when I went up to the next level, where really learning harmony and, you know, then I had to do it on my own, and I started learning from people. And then I started writing much later. I met this couple called Mr. Gyan Singh and Mrs. Jayashree Singh, and that's where my real workshop started. Because I joined their band and I couldn't play half of what I thought I could play, because the real music started.
Chitra was there. It was,
who?
Gyan Singh's daughter was singing?
No, not daughter, wife, Jayashree. Yeah.
Jayashree, yeah.
So that's what London, Bakchi, Gyan, Jayashree, Luhild, and I was sitting in the middle of that gang who I saw and like, wow, and I was wowed completely, and I was nervous I couldn't play. But that's where I learned, talking to them, how to listen to a song, what to present, and the whole production part of it. And then, you know, I went up, and then I joined many other small bands, and I played. Then I joined a band called Shiva, who was like completely cover music, nothing creative or something like that. But yeah, I was playing music, it was great stuff. And we traveled the country, we learned stage behavior, stage etiquette, get out of this nervousness, being bigger than your larger than life kind of vibe. Traveled, became tough, and then to deliver, then you became physically tough. And then we realized that no matter what condition you are in, mentally or physically, you have to deliver the next 2 hours, you know, to 6,000 people or 7,000 people. So that was, you know, the learning curve also went up really steep. And then I started writing tunes with my friends, real stuff, real good stuff, like really thinking stuff like cerebral, and also not only cerebral, as also technical and you know, the what's the word, the beauty of music as a whole, the essence of music. So all that kind of we got into, and then we got you know, formed a band called Skinny Alley, and then albums came out, and EMI, I think, we did the first album.
Luhild was there.
Luhild didn't play. Gyan started playing bass then. I was writing the tunes with Gyan and Jayashree. I was playing guitar. Jayashree was singing, and we had a keyboard player. And Rick played drums, and then Gyan's son Jaiva started playing later. And then much later we started a band called Pink Noise that was really cutting edge. Then we started really walking on the edge, like really challenging, you know, harmony, trying to discover your own harmony, and not your own harmony, but get out the conventional the GC kind of thing. You kind of you sounded ugly chords like that, and somehow I found like beauty in beast in the kind of thing. And yeah, so that became my headspace, like really digging deep into the New York style of music, or maybe the LA, the West Coast, and whatever, and got into musicians, guitar players, saxophone players, violin players, and listening to bands as a whole and not just the guitar. And I kind of became a bigger personality as a musician, overall musician, not just a guitar player. I think that's the real change that happened to me. And that's it. And then I started writing my own tune, which now I'm trying to come into, to cut long story short, I'm trying to get my own language together. I'm not claiming that it's a new language in the world ever, in this planet, never happened, not like that. I'm just putting little information from here, then everyone, and putting it together, what I think in my mind, like a one world theory, which is, I don't care whether it's American or Bangladeshi or Chinese or Indian. It's just music to me and appeals, and it works beyond grammatically. Boundaries. Yeah, I mean, but you have to really work it out. It's like just putting it. It's not like if I play a raga on the electric guitar distortion, it doesn't mean fusion. It sometimes sounds confusion anyway. So if you don't really know the inside, it's difficult. So I was trying to find. I'm still finding that kind of language, and that's what I try to play now. You know what I mean? From that point of being, really, to play more instinctively and organically than like using music jargon or language because I know them. I'm trying to dig deeper into myself to play from a place where if I just forgot everything and I just played, what would happen? That kind of place. And it's difficult, and I'm not going to get there very soon. I'm trying
to get into that zone, you mean?
Yeah, one foot is there, I think. Yeah. The other foot has to get in there.
Yeah. I think the key thing, what you mentioned, is to have an organic unity, to understand it.
Yeah, but then it's a lifetime. It's sometimes the one life doesn't do. Yeah. And that's it. That's what I'm trying now.
And just to harp on one thing, then you can come in, is that how much of this music, when you started, is instinctive and intuitional in nature, and then when it gets, really technical. So there is a gap between that. Because if you see, musicians from the West, like let's say, for example, Dylan and Jerry Garcia, they were just playing banjo, and then suddenly he started playing bluegrass, and I think in one of the classes you also mentioned about assonance and dissonance. Sometimes you don't need to play the right chords, and sometimes you play certain chords and people don't understand, but that creates a kind of a structure within that entire thing. So
there's a misconception. If it's simple, it's not technically.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're different. Dylan played the most complicated music you can think of.
Yeah.
But you can see just a G, so therefore we understand, oh, this is a simple chord, because I can play that, and everyone plays guitar in the world today, so everyone plays, so therefore it's simple. No, but the sentiment and the expression of it could be very, very delicate and complicated. Mm-hmm. So that part also is technical. So to get into that, that's a different kind of, in fact, that's a higher technical zone to be getting into. So Dylan is also complex, Miles is also complex, everything is complex. Music as a subject is most delicate and most complex art form. It's an organization of sonic qualities putting it together. It's not just I pick up the song and play and I'm a musician. No, you're still a mechanic.
Mistaken.
Yeah, that it's a misnomer. So for me, it's organic, but to achieve it, you have to learn and do your grammatical grammar and your technical exercises and your scale practice and everything. So, and then, people say, no, I don't know all that shit, but, I just play from my heart. Yeah, you can play a certain kind of music, sure. But if you want to get into something else, you got to know it all, man, So that's what it is.
So, I would like to ask you, what do you think about the current music scenario and how it's going, even in the world? you know, the psychedelic era, and we know like what music is going on now. So like, what would you prefer if given a choice?
I just play good music, you know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, to me, before I used to say there's bad music and good music, but today, sitting here, I'm heavily judgmental, completely judgmental, because you cannot fool with the subject called music. You cannot take a, you cannot just, because you end up looking like a fool if you pretend. But if you're honest and you're trying and you fail, it's completely okay. You know what I mean? So today is a kind of a good scene in one way, and the other scene is kind of negative also. Good, why? Because everything is just in your palm, in your phone. You know, you can access everyone from John Coltrane to Tchaikovsky
Mayall
to
and everything.
no, I'm talking about Mayall and all, like today. I'm talking about the greats, Beethoven, Bach, and But music is right in there. But the other side is, just because that information is read on the phone and you play it and you kind of think, oh, I also know it. That's not knowing, you know, that's not knowing. You have to feel it. You have to feel it. I mean, why did Bach put that note after that note is where the thing is, you know. You're not, so it's a very deep thing. It's a very profound kind of expression that we call music. So it's coming out of life, death, you know, the entire essence of being,
itself.
Or even the vacuum, the non-existence also that has music.
The void.
Yeah. So, you know, it's all like that. So it's a very great, today is fantastic because all the gears there in our times, we couldn't to get a decent guitar, you had to go ask someone, you couldn't afford it firstly, you know, and nothing would come. And not Braganza, I mean, even if you went to customs where they would seize stuff, even if you brought it from outside, you had to pay 300% tax on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was also a problem. But now the thing is, everything is there. Everything is there. You have to pay some money and you can get everything. But, you know, back in the day, nothing. But it doesn't mean that music can be better music now, and because in the Coltrane days and the Bach days and the Ravi Shankar days, nothing was that. They just found themselves and they're still the best. You know, whereas John Coltrane, Ravi Shankar, Charlie Parker, Bach, Beethoven, Miles, and they didn't have no YouTube, nothing, no phone. And the bad part is, you go to a live concert, you're still looking at the concert with these guys with blood and flesh and sweat through the phone. You're shooting it. What? Then why come to the live gig? You know. So all that kind of thing is a very complex issue. It's good and bad both. So that's the reality, you know, today.
So in retrospect, is music as a whole evolving? Because when we make a reference, we are always going back rather than going forward. And this is something which I discuss with a lot of artists. Even if you talk about painting, we talk about Monet and others. But it's, I mean, we need to move towards the future, and something organically has to come from that, you know, transmission of that music.
Yeah, but if you move forward, you always have to look back first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So if you have to keep going up, you have to keep looking at, because you think you've gone very far in the future, and one fine day you'll figure out that, oh, this has been done 500 years ago. So where do you go then? So, you know, it's a very difficult life to, I'm talking about someone who's really spending it in a deep way. Not like someone who played some rock and roll guitar, which is fantastic also. And I had a good life and blah, 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 and get old, get children, get some money and 2 cars, and I made it. To me, that means really nothing, really. I mean, if you give me a new chord, then it means much more to me.
Yeah,
You know, that kind of thing.
that's the greatest line.
Well, that makes me think that you must have had a past connection with music. Like, not only in this birth, but maybe...
Oh, I don't know that.
Like, but it's more likely.
Yeah.
And would you like to talk about your new music now, like the Red Plant? And
Yeah, sure. See, again, the album Red Plant and the music that I'm writing now, and maybe by May or maybe end of this year, we must start the new album. My music always, which I wrote in the last maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, it's got qualities of both worlds. Like, you can really play acoustic, Mediterranean way, the Spanish gypsy way, maybe a little bit not flamenco way. I mean, I can't play that.
Yeah.
But that you can smell it, and that can also be more rock fusion electric way. And right now I'm middle of recording that album where I'm playing electric with the same tunes, but presenting it in a more kind of step on the gas, kind of really playing like physical chops and all that.
Line? Can you just play a little bit of? Can you just play a little bit of?
The material?
Not the material, whatever you want to play, because we want to engage the audience. And
Well, it's if you have yeah. So that is the, like, for example, if you play see, if you play this, it sounds very drony and also at the same time it sounds kind of harpish. So if I play this, slightly out of tune, it sounds kind of Indianish, but I take those notes and the sentiment of Indian, but I don't go by the Indian rule book of raga system because I know nothing about it. I'm a zero Indian music musician. I don't want to be, because that takes 7 more lifetimes to get that. But within the parameters of what I'm doing, I try to, because I like that the sonic vibe of it, so I incorporate that a little bit. But yeah, if you listen to the album, you get the vibe. So yeah, I'm trying to incorporate, like I said, language from different parts or different countries, wherever it came from, with all its history and all that, into the form of music which, in simple, whatever catches my fancy, I try and get that. And that's it. And so Red Plant is one of them. And then I try and get another kind of tuning on the guitar so I can get another vibe, harmony which is more not so sweet in the normal years, because my music is getting more and more jagged and more spiky, It's like life, sometimes you don't have a smooth run.
you need
Not
to
that,
have
yeah.
You need to have the thorns to get the rose.
But well, yeah, sure, but sometimes
Is there
everything.
any reason that you named it Red Plant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's just an indication, because we were going through COVID time, and then I wrote Red Plant much before COVID though, but I realized that a plant is a beautiful thing, It's like flower. I didn't want to use the word flower. Plant is it signifies nature, which is such a beautiful thing, and red because it's angry in rage and become red. So this is what, after COVID, this whole human race was sick.
Yeah.
So look, I'm trying to mean that look what humans done to this beautiful planet.
Yeah.
Even the plants are angry and become red.
I think it's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah. So people, it's just a normal little name, but I had my own little interpretation to that. So that's what.
So, as you said, you're highly judgmental. Like, one of the last questions is, like, which is your favorite musician of all time? If you could name.
Difficult. It's very difficult. It's not fair. It's like having your kids and you're saying which is your best kid. They're all best. It's like, well, if I have to name one at a gut point, I would think Miles, because he's not only a musician, he's a thinker. Everyone is thinking. John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, name it, anyone. Ravi Shankar, Nikhil Banerjee, Erto Moreira, whatever, anywhere from the east, west, north, wherever. They're all thinkers. I'm talking about the real musicians, not like some popular, good-looking people. Which is okay, all right, which is fine. They're great, good-looking. McLaughlin looks like a model, and he's the best guitar. He's like heavenly kind of. So he's got it all. So yeah, it's difficult to say, but yeah, Miles had the whole psyche and he kind of carried the whole package in him, and he changed music himself many times within his own personality. So yeah, McLaughlin is one of those guys. Alan Holtz was one of those guys. There are many new ones who we don't even know. Jimi Hendrix. Now these modern guys are some phenomenal musicians. Like the other world is like, for example, Edgar Varese, Stockhausen, Igor Stravinsky. They are like monsters and masters,
Yeah, Chopin.
Yeah. So it's music is a great thing, and I get angry kind of red plantish because very often people kind of play around with this subject, this art form. So that's where it gets a little bit annoying, you know. I don't mean like if you play music you become like this and you never smile. But we are the hardest party goers on the planet. All our musicians are like hard partying people. We might look like this and all that, but when we party, no one can party like us. And whether it's a beer drinking party or whatever whiskey drinking party, where we are partying and also we are partying on stage. That's hard partying.
Yeah.
No one can get that party on stage because you have to spend all your life to get into that stage to party like that. So that's what I mean by party though, yeah.
So if we sign up from Tantra Foundation, and excellent meeting Amyt Dutta today, and getting this done for all of us and those who are picking up guitars and want to learn music as a whole, loving music and be devotional, sincere to music. So once we are ending it, little bit of bluesy.
I don't have a guitar plugged in, so yeah, I mean, whatever. I love blues also, yeah, sure, yeah. I'm not plugged in, right? But yeah, sure.
Is it possible to plug in?
You can plug it.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we should cut because they hired this place to rehearse, so we are spending money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.